There's a fundamental truth most men never fully comprehend until they've been shattered by it, until they've been hurt, betrayed, or left standing in the rubble of a relationship, wondering how the woman they once trusted could morph into a stranger so drastically and so quickly. The truth is this: many women live in a world that doesn't exist. This is not a judgment born of malice, nor is it a statement on intelligence. It is a crucial observation about perception. Their reality is not built upon the cold, hard bedrock of logic and objective fact. It is a fluid, vibrant, and often treacherous landscape sculpted by the ever-shifting tectonic plates of emotion. They do not see the world as it is. They see it, and experience it, as they feel it should be. This emotional filter is the lens through which their entire existence is processed, and it distorts everything. It has the power to reshape truth, to rewrite history, and to turn yesterday's sacred promise into today's meaningless footnote. Unless you, as a man, understand the mechanics of this emotional operating system, you are destined to spend your life perpetually confused, psychologically manipulated, and emotionally drained by women who, in all likelihood, never even consciously knew the damage they were inflicting. When a woman tells you she loves you, she means it with every fiber of her being in that specific moment. The feeling is all-consuming, a truth so profound it feels eternal. But if that feeling shifts a week later, displaced by a new wave of doubt, fear, or simple boredom, she may leave you without blinking, and she will not see it as a contradiction. In her world, the foundational truth has changed because the feeling has changed. Reality, to her, is not a fixed point on a map. It is a flowing river, flexible and shaped by the currents of her heart. So when you stand before her, bewildered, holding the broken pieces of her promises, and ask, "But what about everything you said? What about our future?" she will genuinely look at you as if you are speaking a foreign language. She doesn't live in your world of concrete facts, logical consistency, and binding commitments. She lives in her world of feelings. And in that world, Tuesday's passionate truth can be nullified by Thursday's anxious betrayal. And there is no sense of accountability, because in her mind, she wasn't lying then. She just feels differently now. This is the hidden source of the profound shock that leaves so many men speechless when a woman ghosts them, cheats on them, or abruptly detonates a relationship that seemed, from a logical standpoint, to be perfectly fine just hours earlier. In her world, her actions make perfect, unassailable sense because they are justified, validated, and sanctified by her emotions. If she feels ignored, it doesn't matter that you were busy working for 12 hours to provide for your shared future. The feeling itself is the evidence of your betrayal. If she feels unattractive, it doesn't matter that you complimented her yesterday and held her with affection this morning. The feeling of neglect becomes the objective reality. You can present your case like a lawyer in a courtroom, explaining the facts, showing the evidence, reminding her of the objective truth of the situation, but it will not matter. You are arguing against a hurricane with a calculator. In her world, her feelings are the facts, and logic is an irrelevant, irritating noise. You see this dynamic in the very way she falls in love. It is often a whirlwind of intense, face-first passion. She builds magnificent castles in her mind before she has even learned your last name. You, operating from your logical framework, see this intensity and mistake it for genuine, grounded connection. You think she is all in, but what you are witnessing is not necessarily love for you. It is emotional projection. She is not falling for the real, flawed, complex human being standing before her. She is falling for a story, an archetype, a possibility that she has projected onto your image. You are a character in a movie she has already written in her head. When the friction of reality begins to kick in, when she sees you tired after a long day, when you disagree with her, when you display a flaw that doesn't fit the script, the disillusionment sets in, the withdrawal begins, and you are left scratching your head, wondering where that affectionate, passionate, all-in woman from 2 weeks ago went. The harsh truth is, that version of her, the one intertwined with the fantasy of you, never truly existed outside of her imagination. She was a beautiful but temporary product of her own emotional creation. This is why women will often express desires that make no logical sense. They are emotional truths, not logical ones. I want a strong, dominant man who is also in touch with his feelings and isn't afraid to cry. I want a provider who builds an empire but doesn't care about money. I want a leader who will also let me lead. From a logical standpoint, these are contradictions, but she is not seeking logical consistency. She is chasing a feeling, a vibe, an emotional cocktail that gives her a particular high. And the moment that vibe disappears, her narrative changes, her needs change, her expectations shift. not because she is a calculating manipulator, but because her entire reality is built upon the constantly shifting sands of her emotional state. If you do not understand this, you will exhaust yourself trying to find sense in the nonsensical. Modern culture, particularly social media, has poured gasoline on this fire, making this fantasy world more pervasive and dangerous than ever before. Women are now perpetually bombarded with curated, filtered images of perfect lives, perfect couples, and perfect men. Instead of appreciating the real, flawed, dedicated man in front of them, they are subconsciously comparing him to an impossible fantasy, to filters, to 10-second highlight reels, to staged stories that bear no resemblance to reality. They begin to believe that anything less than constant, cinematic perfection is a sign of failure. If you are not texting her like a poet, providing for her like a billionaire, and loving her like a character in a romantic comedy, then you are not doing enough. She is comparing your real, gritty, authentic life to someone else's meticulously crafted illusion, and that is a battle you will never win. The most insidious part is that she doesn't even know she's doing it. In her world, this comparison feels right, her dissatisfaction feels true, and modern culture reinforces this delusion at every turn. It tells her that she is always right, that her every emotion is valid and must be honored, that if you feel it, it must be the truth. And so, she stops questioning her own impulses. She stops seeking objective truth. She begins living inside her own emotional echo chamber, and any man who dares to challenge that narrative by introducing a dose of reality is immediately labeled as controlling, toxic, or insecure. In truth, he is often the only one with his feet firmly planted on the ground. This is why you will see women leap from one relationship to the next, never pausing for reflection or In her world, she was never the one who was wrong. The man was flawed, the circumstances were unfair. Her ex didn't make her feel safe, her new guy just gets her. But give it time, and the cycle will inevitably repeat itself, because the problem is not the man, it is the world she has built in her head, a world where love is supposed to be effortless, where emotions never fade, and where any feeling of discomfort is a sign of mortal danger. The moment the weight of the real world comes knocking at her door, she bolts, because her fragile illusion cannot survive the encounter. You cannot fix this, you cannot save her. You cannot use logic to pull her out of a world she doesn't even know she's in. What you can do, and what you must do, is protect yourself. You protect yourself by standing firm in reality. You stop buying into her fantasy. You stop believing her words when they are contradicted by her actions. You stop contorting yourself into knots trying to prove your worth to someone who changes the rules of the game mid-play. Instead, you stay grounded in what is real, in what is consistent, in what is true. You lead with facts, with integrity, and with an unwavering purpose. If she can meet you in that world, wonderful. If not, you do not chase her into her delusion. A man who is loyal to reality never begs for company in a fantasy. And here is the truth that no one tells you. The more grounded you are, the more she will test you. In her world, your strength is both deeply attractive and deeply threatening. It is a lighthouse in her storm, but it also highlights the chaos of her own waters. She will poke you, she will prod you, she will subconsciously create chaos just to see if your frame will crumble. If you get emotional, if you are dragged into her storm, she loses all respect for you. If you stay calm, if you remain the unmovable anchor, one of two things will happen. She either levels up to meet you in reality, or she leaves to find someone weaker who will play in her fantasy world. Either outcome is a victory for you. World is not your responsibility. Her emotional highs are not your achievement, and her lows are not your fault. Her confusion, her impulsiveness, her fairy tale expectations, they are not your job to fix. Your job is to stay grounded in what's real, to lead with your own vision, and to move with clarity. A man must build his own world before he invites a woman into a Tay world based on truth, on non-negotiable standards, on unshakable values, a world that does not shift with someone else's mood swings. The truth is, brother, most women do not even want to live in the fantasy forever, but they have not been taught how to escape it. They have been fed a diet of lies since birth, that every fleeting emotion must be honored, that love should be effortless, that discomfort is a form of oppression. So they seek magic in every moment, looking for sparks and signs from the universe. They are never taught that true love is work, that stability is a form of strength, and that a boring but consistent man is worth more than 1,000 charismatic manipulators. Until they learn that for themselves, they will keep chasing shadows, and leaving behind the men who are actually real. The strongest men are not loud or bitter. They are not chasing, they are simply done. Done playing therapist. Done explaining logic to chaos. Done trying to be everything to someone who doesn't know what she wants. They have accepted the truth. You cannot build a life with someone who lives in a dream and calls it love. They sleep well at night not because they have one, but because they have chosen peace over potential. If you have ever felt crazy trying to make sense of a woman who seems to change with the weather, understand that you were sane. You were simply operating in reality while she was lost in imagination. You were a character in her emotional movie, and the script changed without notice. But now you see it. Now you know better. You must remain grounded. You must move in truth. You must build in reality, because this world does not reward fantasy. It rewards discipline, vision, and clarity. And when you stay rooted in that, you find peace, you find power, and maybe, just maybe, a woman finds you who is finally tired of illusions and ready to live in your world, a world where love is real, loyalty is proven, and truth is not just spoken, but lived.